Hi, I'm Louis Carr, founder of WayMaker. And today on the WayMaker Fireside Chat, we are coming to you from New York City at the Blackstone Group, founded by Steve Schwartzman, and we're hosted by the United States Track and Field Foundation Board. Welcome. We have the privilege of sitting down with Team USA, members of Team USA, and the chairman of the United States Track and Field Board and board member. So I will start by introducing everyone. On my left today, we have Alexis Holmes, gold medalist from Paris, Grant Fisher, medalist from Paris, silver medalist and bronze medalist, and Bob Greifeld, chairman of the United States Track and Field. And what medalist? Non-medalist? Thank you. On my right, I have Grant Holloway, gold medalist, world champion, seemed like forever, since he's been like 12 years old. And I have Annette Echikunwoke and Anre Williams. Thank you. Well, guys, first of all, I want to start with Bob and Anre. What does the United States Track and Field Board do for track and field athletes?
Well, we have two main missions. One is the support of our elite track athletes to make sure they can, in a post-collegiate way, continue to compete and continue to thrive. And the second, we also support primarily inner city youth track clubs. The first mission gets more of the publicity, but they're both very important to us.
Anre, why is it important for you to participate on the United States Track and Field Board? What was the thing that made you say, this is something I want to do?
Well, first, I have a personal passion for track and field because a former athlete that never could achieve any of the heights of these athletes, I'm in awe of what they do and I admire their work and I enjoy going to meets and watching them. But most importantly, I want the U.S. to be represented by the best in the world. And many other countries, they're supported by their governments. Whereas the United States, it takes private citizens and organizations supporting our athletes. So I want to play a role in making sure we have the best and most talented people representing the United States at the World Championships, the Olympics, and any international competition.
And to the athletes, Grant, Alexis, Grant, and Annette, what has that support done for you guys? What has it done for your careers? How has it helped you?
Yeah, it's been tremendous.
Otherwise, they take the floor.
It's been tremendous to know that there's that support and that backing. When you're coming out of school and you don't know kind of where to turn or what to do, and you might not have a big contract or anything. As a thrower, contracts aren't even I think to really look forward to. It's more like, hey, how far can I throw? And to know that there's support on all levels of all the events with the foundation, it's been huge. It's impacted me tremendously. So,
foundation for not just sprinters, but like Annette said, it triples down to throws as well as distance and jumps. This can make or break an athlete. For myself, I'm part of that 1% group that has a contract that's able to, move freely versus some of the other athletes. This is make or break, for me. So I just like to see this an even playing field for everybody. I've taken some of the grant money for myself and improved my mental health. That's something that I think is big ever since 2020. I think a lot of people have brought it to the forefront of their careers, and just finding just ways just to continue just to, raise the bar just that much higher.
Alexis?
I think for me, it's been an immense help because I didn't have the collegiate career that I had hoped. I won a lot of SEC titles, so I never got my national title, and so I didn't get the big contract that I hoped for at the end of my collegiate career. But being a part of the foundation now and having the support, it's been really, really helpful just starting out, and I hope to continue my success.
And Grant, what about you?
The foundation just frees us up to do what we want to do and what we do best, which is train really hard and compete really hard. It takes away a lot of the the stress of the little details that you have to figure out, especially as a new professional, kind of like Grant said. When you're new on the scene, you have to figure out all these things. You might not have the financial backing that you could potentially get later in your career. And the foundation really helps solve a lot of those problems for you and offload those burdens and allow yourself to really figure out how good you can be in this sport and not be tied down by more logistical things.
Well, to the athletes, a lot of our listening audience look at you guys as exactly what you are, great athletes. How did you make the transition from good to great?
Well, a lot of that transition was losing 30 pounds. That was like huge for me. Just trying to transition away from my old eating habits in college. You can get away with a lot more. So really focusing on nutrition, supplements, making sure I'm taking care of my body. That's been really important in my transition as a pro.
Yeah, I had a big breakthrough in 2024, and it was the result of making some really big changes at the end of 2023. I switched basically everything I was doing and refocused on what do I have to do to be the very best version of myself. I built an entire training setup around just me and maximizing my potential for 2024. And it was a risk. And I could have fallen flat on my face and it could have gone horribly, but it went really well. And I felt confident making that decision, partially because of the foundation's backing, allowing me to, have a safety net, a little bit of a cushion in case things went wrong. And it went fantastically well, and I'm starting this season really well. As to carry that momentum has been really nice. But it was a lot of risk taking in 2023 that allowed me to kind of have a breakout.
You're being very modest. You started the season with the indoor world record. 2 of them.
Yeah, it's been a great start to the year.
Yeah.
Grant Holloway, you've been great for a long time.
It's been tricky, when you look at the collegiate season. For me, I know I started in 2017, won 2017, 18, and 19. At the time, the American record and collegiate record, still the old American record and the collegiate record still stands now for myself. And, like you said, I've been good for a long time, but really great for a long time, excuse me. But then I got punched in the teeth in 2021, when I got that silver. Now, most people see silver as like, hey, you did great. But for me, it's like you said, I've had that mantra and that motto where, gold is the only option. And, from there, let's say I was reading at maybe a 11th grade reading level. And then when you get to Olympics, you got to make sure you're reading at a PhD level type of thing. So I really just challenged myself, to kind of just go deeper, figure out, what works best, what doesn't work, who do I need to get rid of, who do I need to bring in, and that's pretty much been the challenge from 2022 to now. Just figuring out ways just to continue just to get better or to stay great in your motto, and I think it's been great. So these next 4 years are going to be interesting. I've accomplished so much on the track and field scene, so I want to start maneuvering some stuff on the outside of track, off the field, and see where that lands.
Annette, when you compete, you do it so calmly and with such grace in the hammer throw. So clearly you've known that you had this potential to be great for a long time.
I believed it for sure. I think, like you said, it's been there for a long time, and it's like to finally kind of bring it out on this world stage is really exciting for me. And I knew coming into Paris that I wanted to not just be a spectator, but to really kind of put it out there and bring home a medal for Team USA. And so it brought me a lot of joy to do that. But I think even looking back at the video of me competing then, I knew that there was a lot more then, and I feels like there's a lot more coming forward. So I'm looking forward to that.
Alexis, who was the first person that believed in you?
Ooh, the first person. I would say probably my parents, but if we're talking specifically track, definitely my youth track coaches. I started out as a 100, 200 runner, and as my legs got longer and I got stronger, they put me in the 400. And I used to literally scream and kick anytime I had to run the floor. But, obviously they knew what they were doing. They saw the potential in me. And so I'm really glad that they pushed me out of my comfort zone because, I didn't know.
Grant Fisher, who was that first person that believed in you?
I would echo the same thing. Early coaches. Sometimes when you're first into the sport, you don't really know your potential. You don't really know what you're doing, but those early coaches sometimes can see more in you than you can. And their belief really can push you on to new levels. And the risk, one of the risks that I took last year was returning back to my youth coach, Mike Scannell. So I was coached by him when I was a kid. I had a different coach in college and early professional. And then I went back to my original youth coach. So he was the first one to really believe in me. And going back to him, that belief was still there. And it's cool. We accomplished some great things together now.
Grant Holloway, I assume you believed in yourself before anybody believed in you.
Definitely myself, but I'm going to echo what all the, great Olympians sitting here said the same thing. I'm Stan and Tasha's baby boy. So, from a very, very young age, they believed in me. They put this this mantra, you don't lose, you learn. And ever since then, I've just been growing to the young man I am.
Annette?
Yeah, I think it's the coaches for sure. But I guess simply put, believing in myself. I feel like there's something where if you believe it, there's something that activates kind of that mind-body connection to be able to really execute and do amazing things. So of course, having the coach that believes in you, having strength coach that believes in you, all those things, that's awesome and that's needed, of course. But I feel like if you don't believe it first, it just doesn't connect or activate the way it should. So
What does it mean to each of you when you put on that USA uniform? That's just something very, very special to represent the United States of America. How does that make you feel the first time any of you put on that uniform?
Okay, I'll break the ice this time. For me, mine's is an interesting story. So what you guys see now is just a byproduct of, working hard. But if I sit here and told you I never made a World Junior team, you'll probably sit here and act like I'm crazy. But my first USA team, when I actually had USA on my chest, was 2019 in Doha. That was my first USA team. I didn't make any junior teams, any youth teams, any indoor teams. Anything that had Team USA, I was always one behind. So if they took 3, I got 4. If they took 2, I got 3rd. So 2019 was my very first time making that team. And I remember sitting there with Justin Gatlin, and he told me, it was like, you literally have to just go out there and just have fun. Once you get to this stage, it's easier because USA is just so deep in every event. Once you just get there, once you get to the dance, you can let your hair down and have a little bit of fun. And he just challenged me just to go into the party and have fun. Don't be on the wall, just watching. Go out there on the dance floor, bust a move or two, and then see what the outcome may be.
Annette?
yeah, I think of putting on Team USA uniform. I mean, it's empowering. It's empowering to represent a country. It's not perfect in all its ways, of course, but it's to have this amazing team and be around such amazing people and represent such amazing depth. I mean, you make a USA team, a lot of times you're in a good chance to medal. And so to have that opportunity, it's really a blessing. So,
do you feel pressure with that uniform on?
I'll be honest, sometimes there is like a little bit of pressure that comes with it because just the weight of like what Team USA is known for, which is being dominant and winning medals. And so I think like Annette said, it definitely is an empowering feeling to like put Team USA across your chest. I specifically remember watching like Sonia and Allison with the all red USA uniform, and I remember being like, I want to wear that. I want to
go back to that. We need to go back to that uniform.
That was the best one of my being, but yeah. So it's always really an honor to put that on.
Grant.
Yeah, your first time wearing the USA kit is wild because whoever you look up to in your event, when you picture them, you think of them with the USA kit. You don't usually think of them in their regular professional kit because the biggest thing you can do in our sport is the Olympics and the World Championship. So that is when all eyes are on you. And for a sport where we don't always get the attention that basketball, football might get throughout the year, our pinnacle is the Olympics. So there's big pressure to perform, but yeah, once you get there, it's a wild feeling thinking of all the people that came before you that wore that kit, and then the honor it is to wear it as well, and the legacy that you want to hold up and continue by going out there and doing your best.
Well, was there some added pressure on you running the 5 and the 10 when Americans hadn't medaled in so long? Was there a little added pressure?
I actually think it was the opposite. I think there's more pressure if you have really strong history every year. You know, you don't want to break the streak. But for me, I was trying to do something that hadn't been done in a while, so there wasn't as much pressure to get it right. But yeah, growing up, I didn't have a ton of role models in U.S. distance running. Most of the best runners in the world were from East Africa. The Kenyans and Ethiopians and Ugandans would dominate the sport. So I was trying to show that U.S. distance running was just as good as those other countries and catch up to the other event groups in the U.S. You know, the throws, the hurdles, the sprints, the jumps have been good forever, but distance running hasn't. And I hope to continue leading that charge because we had a great Olympics on the distance side this past year. And maybe there's pressure going forward now to continue, which is a good thing.
Well, you know, in life, it's hard to bounce back from disappointments. It's just hard. You might have to bounce back from disappointments from week to week. How do you do that? How do you get yourself motivated to come back 6-7 days later and still compete at the highest level?
I think specifically in this sport, it's really important to have short-term memory when it comes to a bad race, a bad throw, a bad jump, whatever the case may be. I've definitely had my fair share of disappointments, setbacks, injuries, you name it. But I think you just got to take things one day at a time. You got to trust that you prepared your body to do what you needed to do in the moment. And so, yeah, I think that's most important.
Yeah, I think for me, like this past season, it was not the season I intended at all, honestly. Prior to the championships, I was kind of faltering in ways that I didn't expect, even though I felt like I was putting more into the training, into recovery and everything. But then I got to the trials, and like Alexis said, having that short-term memory, I was like, forget about what happened this season. Like, we need to go and we need to do something, and just believe that, have that mind-body connection, believe that you can do this. And so the intention was to be top 3, and then ended up winning the trials to be able to make the team and then be the first woman to go to Paris and bring a medal in the hammer throw. And so, yeah, having that short-term memory and just, you know, it doesn't matter what's happened in the past, you know, and also step back and take accountability if there's anything that needs to be changed to make those shifts and then be able to go forward stronger. So
it's remarkable to hear, you know, the story on just not just us as Olympians, but you think of some of the great ones, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe. You think about how they, you know, take those losses and it fuels them. I think it's the same way with track and field. Although we're not on that limelight where everybody sees us week in and week out, you know, we have to be able to have a short-term memory loss. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. You know, we don't lose, we learn. So if it was a bad ref, if it was a bad, you know, day at the office, bad throw, you know, we go back, we look at the film, we say, okay, this is where I did wrong. I can fix this, this, and this, and that will help out all these other things. And, you know, we go back to the starting line or the next rep that next time, and we get it better. So just the disappointment thing is tough, but I also understand why people say it. But for us in track and field, has to be a short-term memory. You know, I tell myself after a meet, you got 24 hours to cry, to be upset. You got 24 hours. If you don't want to talk to nobody for 24 hours, that's your time. But once it hits 25, you got to go back and you got to get back to the drawing boards.
But for track, you have to have a real short-term memory because you got so many rounds. I mean, so you may run in the morning and have to have a short-term memory for the afternoon.
It's a quick one. You know, for definitely indoors. I think that's when we run 3 rounds in one day for the hurdles. But yeah, you gotta have 3 rounds in one day. It's crazy. But you gotta have you have to have short term. I mean, but you know, hurdles is one of those events. It's unforgiving. And, you know, one barrier it can make or break you. So it's interesting. But for track and field as a whole, though, it's a beautiful sport, but it's a very unforgiving sport at the same time.
Grant.
Agree with everything that's been said. I mean, this sport rewards resilience, and it's a learned trait. I think everyone has some base capability of resilience, but each time you come back from something or overcome something, it makes the next time not seem as big, and you have a little more confidence in yourself to come back from it. And the nature of our sport is that when we compete, we're compared to everything else. It's very tangible and objective, our sport. You ran this fast, you jumped this far, this high, and this is what you did last year. This is what the guy next to you did. So we are evaluated constantly at a very objective way, which is great sometimes, that accountability, but other times it can be harsh. So it teaches a great sense of resilience and self-belief, because each time that happens, you have to have that short memory. You have to pick yourself up and be fueled by something, whether it's finding the joy of the sport again, finding a greater reason to compete. Maybe you're fueled by anger because you made a mistake. Some of those things you can harness it, and if you can control it in the right way, it can result to even better performances down the road, and give you the confidence that next time something goes wrong, you can handle it.
We here at WayMaker believe that every successful person has had a WayMaker in their life. In mine, I've had 19. Who are some of the WayMakers that made a difference? And we describe WayMakers as someone who did something for you, and even today you still don't understand why they did that. Who are some of your WayMakers?
Go ahead, Grant.
All right, I'm going with a guy named Matt Centrowitz. He won the gold medal in the 1500 in 2016. He was the first American to do it in about 100 years. And guy was on top of the world. And when I went pro, he took me under his wing a little bit. We ended up living in the same town starting about 2 years ago. And he really showed me the way and got me to believe in myself, and got me to think about medaling before there was really evidence that I could medal. And to get that advice from someone that was still in the sport, who technically was a direct competitor to me, to see him giving back and taking the next guy under his wing and letting them rise up, when in reality, my rise undercut him in a way. It was fantastically generous. He's become a great mentor and a great friend of mine. He just recently retired, but I'll always be grateful for what he did for me, just showing me what was possible. And to learn from a gold medalist, that's about as good as it gets.
Alexis?
I think for me, my WayMaker is definitely my grandfather. He grew up in poverty in New Haven, Connecticut. Had my mom at 17, I believe, in a 1-bedroom in the projects. And he really he did everything he could to make sure that, it didn't repeat itself, essentially. He put himself through school in Yale. And my mom went on to go to Southern Connecticut State University. And so he really instilled the importance of education. It's the reason why I'm so humble today. And so I think without him, the trajectory of my life would have been a lot different.
Grant Holloway?
I'm gonna keep it very simple, but my WayMaker is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Just to be in so many blessings each and every year. And I know I work hard, and I know I have a lot of luck on my side, is the way I put it. But none of it will be possible without him. It's been times, although you guys see me on top, there's been times where I'm locked in my bedroom just watching film, figuring out, why am I not doing this? How am I not doing this? Or, it's that question, why? But then, all anger and everything reverts back to the same thing. You gotta be able to look yourself in the mirror. So without him, and obviously without my two parents birthing me, I think none of this would have been remotely possible.
Honestly, same as Grant, Jesus Christ for sure. Coming out of school at UC, I didn't see myself doing this at this level. I was like, it would be one thing if I was a sprinter, it'd be one thing if I was a jumper, but it's just throws, not the most, well looked at event in track and field. But there was just so many things just affirming that I should keep going this direction. And I really feel like it was like podcasts I was listening to. I was getting like I got a book from like the UC Foundation president, and like all these things just pointing me to like, you need to keep going this direction. I'm like, all right, Jesus, you already know like how I feel about this, and if you want me to go this way, show me how to do it. And he's been so just beautifully generous and constant to me in this journey. And it's not been easy by any means, but he's been keeping me going. Because it's been rough for sure. It's had its rough moments, but he just keeps wanting me to keep going. So yeah.
I've asked this question many times of successful people, and people have asked it of me. Do you ever doubt yourself?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I definitely have my moments of like, girl, like, can you actually do this? Like, one specific memory that comes to mind is World Championships in Budapest, my first year as a pro, and I was lining up against Femke Bo, who at the time was like unbeatable. Everybody's like, she's superhuman. And I think going into the relay, people were just like, oh yeah, like Femke is gonna win the anchor leg, and you're running for second, essentially. And so I kind of started to like take that on and like internalize it. I'm like, am I ready for second? So I've definitely had those moments of doubt, but I think like running her down in Budapest, for me, that was one of those ones where I was like, no, girl, like you can do this. Like you deserve to be here. You're one of the best quarter milers in the world. And so, yeah, but I have those ones.
I think we all have doubt. You know, it's constantly nagging you in the back of your head. Doesn't matter how great you become. I think a healthy amount of doubt is what pushes you to keep getting better. I think if that doubt goes away completely, you're probably going to find yourself a little stagnant. There's always a voice in the back of my head telling me I can't do it, or that you can't push harder or whatever. And, you know, almost every race I run the distances. So you're out there for a really long time in your head. And there's always a voice in the back of my head telling me to, hey, dropping out sounds pretty nice right now. You know, stopping sounds pretty nice, or slowing down sounds pretty nice. And you have to override that. And it's a learned thing to overcome that doubt. But again, it's every time you do it, it gets a little easier. But every time you give in to the doubt, that gets a little easier too. So you have to be careful, you know, that it's not so much about getting rid of the doubt. It's learning how to deal with it and potentially harnessing it to have it as a motivator. And yeah, it allows you to push harder than you thought was possible, but the voice doesn't go away.
If I was able to copy and paste what my Grant said, half of this Grant said, I would, oh my gosh, spitting image. It's healthy to have that doubt, but it's unhealthy to let it win. If there's a fine line between both of them. And I think Grant explained it perfectly. It's like, you're going to have it when you're running. I do sprint events, so it's real quick. Unlike Grant, where he constantly going around and around and around. But, you know, when you have that doubt, you have to just be able to tell it just to, you know, shut up, and, you know, you just got to continue forward.
Yeah, definitely. You'll have that doubt for sure. I think it's about finding that one reason to say yes to yourself, though. Me and my coach always talk about that, just like having, because there's always going to be a reason to sing now and kind of get that moment of doubt and not believe or whatever the case is. But he's giving yourself the chance to say yes. And it was fine. He got yes every time. I can see Steve Melly. Yeah, it kind of keeps doubt. Okay. Because also see we're pushing our bodies to points that, I mean, most keep doubt. And we try to go past boundary that they're there for so long, whether it be world reppers or whatever it may be. So it's like doing that at that level, that's hawker. And so of course there's gonna be that doubt that kind of creeps out. But again, I think it's just about finding that reason to say yes, going to see it. So
Bob, Anre, the biggest stage in track and field comes to the U.S. in 2028. How important will the foundation, the role that we play for these athletes in 28 be?
I think fundamental, but listening to these athletes here, it strikes me what I think is the essence of what the foundation is about and what our sport, track, is about. It teaches us life lessons, right? When you hear what they just said here, their attitude for their training, their competition will allow them to win in life, that exact same attitude, right? When they get past their professional career. And one of the reasons I was attracted to track is in very early stages, it teaches delayed gratification. So if you're playing a basketball game, a 3-on-3 basketball game, it's fundamentally fun. When your coach says you have to run 10 quarters and I'll give you 60 seconds of a break, you're not doing that for fun. You're doing that for gratification in the meet, 2 or 3 months from there. And you learn that fundamental delayed gratification life lesson. So when I hear these athletes, I think about what they learned. It's just a great springboard to have a great life there. So we will do well in 2028. We did great in Paris. But I think the greater point is the track produces great people who will be successful in though.
Anre?
My belief is that 2028 and the Olympics in Los Angeles is going to be spectacular for USA Track and Field. Every single time there's a host country usually outperforms the local athletes. There are many French performers who did well in Paris because they felt that their home crowd was behind them. I believe when the Olympics come to Los Angeles in 2028, the athletes on the USA Track and Field team will have the entire stadium, over 100,000 people, cheering for them at every single time they touch, a track, the pit or whatever they're involved in. And so I expect us to have an extraordinary performance.
Grant Holloway, what would you tell your younger self?
Stop eating Skittles and be stupid. No, honestly, younger Grant was full of energy, loved to be around people, loved to help people, pushed himself, whether he was on the football field or on the track. And I would tell him, stay true to yourself. Don't change based off society. Don't change based off of what you see on social media. Don't change based off of what your friends are doing or what's in the cool kids table. Just stay true to yourself. You're going to find a niche. You're going to find people that love you for you. And you're going to find, you're going to surround yourself with great people. All of us are sitting here in our own right. We do something great. And that's why we're having this bomb conversation right now. Just staying true to ourselves, staying true to what we love. And, the main thing is staying true to who we are.
Annette?
I think I would tell my younger self, everything's going to be all right. I think when I was younger, I definitely was always trying to I don't know why, just figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I was just very hyper focused on that and worried that I wouldn't do the right thing or whatever the case may be, but everything's going to work out. And in the end, it'll be good. If it's not good, it's not the end. So.
Ending girl. Oh, that. I think I would tell my younger self to trust herself. Initially, I was supposed to go to college for basketball. I had multiple scholarships, and I was sure that I was going to be one of the first women to dunk in the WNBA.
Oh, really?
I mean, I was so serious. Don't let the nails fool you. But no, yeah. So just trust myself because I always knew that I needed running to be a part of my life. It's just something that I started when I was 4 years old, and I felt like something was missing. And so I'm just glad that, I switched back to track and ultimately ended up where I am today. I can't imagine not being a world gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist. I mean, yeah, so just trust yourself.
Grant Fisher.
I would tell my younger self to keep the joy and to chase what you love. I think, especially in distance running, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to make it. It's too much time out there to be in your own head. You'll talk yourself out of it, and you won't get out there on the hard days. It's way easier to get out on the hard days when you love the sport. And I think that's good advice for any kid. There's a lot of, especially growing up now, there's a lot of pressure on kids to perform at a young age and specialize at a young age and have their life figured out at a young age. And I think if you follow your heart, follow your passions, things will work out in the end. And even if they don't on paper work out, I think you can learn something like Grant has said. That lesson of following your passion will allow you to work hard and get the most out of yourself. It's hard to work hard when you don't enjoy it, but it's easy to work hard and grind and be resilient and bounce back when you enjoy it. So fun thing you enjoy and go after.
Well, I want to thank all of you for joining the WayMaker Fireside Chat. Our motto is to educate, motivate, and inspire people to live their best life. You guys are living examples, including Anre and Bob, on living your best life. So we hope that you continue to be successful. We know that you will. We look forward to sharing in your success, and we want to thank you for sharing your journey and your story with our WayMaker audience. Thank you so much.